Welcome back to 83 Till Infinity. This is Disco Trek, our Star Trek Discovery podcast. I am Bert.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Jesse.
Today we're talking episode 9. Episode 9 of season 3. Is it 9 already?
Episode 9?
Yep, 9.
Title was Terra Firma Part 1. Directed by Jonathan Frakes. Writers were Kenneth Lin and Brandon Schultz. Let's go to episode scores. I gave this one an 8 out of 10 on the Discovery scale. I thought this was the best episode of the season, with maybe the exception of the Trill Homeworld episode. But yeah, how about you guys?
I give it a 5, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Considering
in my
the recent scores, 5 is amazing.
5?
I think that's fair. But, Jesse, is it a 5 on the Discovery scale or like on a normal scale?
I don't like when people curve things. So I'm going to compare it against good television. And
all right, so this is across all television.
This is an objective scale, right?
Okay.
Right.
I'm
not
playing to their level.
Okay.
I think that's fair. Okay, so I give it a 6 I do think I bumped it up a couple. I think I did curve it a bit because it's Discovery. So 6 is my final answer, but I want to say asterisk may have been curved.
I mean, to be honest, I'm scoring it on the Discovery scale, so it's curved. And I think that Jesse giving it an objective 5 is probably on the Discovery scale higher than my 8. That's like
I think it is.
I really like the City on the Edge of Forever, and I like the call out to one of the only TOS shows, the episodes that I really, really dig. So
Yeah.
I was really happy about that.
Okay, plot
I wish he had the
predictions.
original portal though. I didn't like the door. I want
The
that
door.
like,
He didn't like
I
the
didn't
door.
like the door.
rock thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
also didn't like the door if we're pointing out things we didn't like.
The door reminded me of something, and I couldn't remember what. It's a Doctor Who. Something had doors.
The Dark Tower novels.
Maybe that's
yeah,
doors.
Dark Tower. I
There's
heard
a lot of doors
City
in Dark
Doors,
Tower.
Doors, yeah.
Yeah.
Plot predictions. I don't know if we had any plot predictions. Last week we were predicted this was going to happen with Georgiou. Exactly. But I think it was telegraphed pretty hard at that point.
It's true. Before the season started, did any of us say that we were going to do parallel this season? We were going to go Bizarro again this season?
No.
I don't think we did.
No.
I didn't think we were. I mean, I kind of thought Georgia was going to stay in
Yeah,
regular Prime universe forever.
Yeah.
Let's do episode chat. I saw Bert's long note in the show in his show notes, and it's like the first thing I want to talk about because I've had this conversation like a million times with people.
All right, let's go to episode chat then. Okay, well, I guess we're doing mine first. So my first one is just a throwaway point. I love that they want to make them evil, and I feel like the directors, like Jonathan Frakes' advice was, okay, guys, remember you're super evil, and they're all like, cool. What would an evil cartoon character do? Probably lick his knife.
my wife actually just interjected to say they're Michael Jackson outfits, and now she's ruined.
Yeah,
They are Michael Jackson outfits. That's very
Look like
true.
Michael Jackson outfits.
Yeah, I know. Well, he looks like he's licking that blade.
Yeah.
I want the other girl to start going, Rufio. Rufio.
I mean, that fight scene was very Peter Pan. But anyways, go on, Bert.
It was very like the Beat It music video. That's what it reminded me of.
And it is literally like there's street fights in the hallway. Like, how does a society that has this poor of a discipline?
Yeah.
Like
everybody's Klingons and everybody else is like, how did they make it to space? All they do is kill each other over honor every 15 seconds. But okay, so my point was a point of logic. You know, you have Owosakun fighting Reese for the chief of security position on the Charon here. It's supposed to be a fight to the death with knives. And if you think about it, everybody who exists that we've seen so far in the Prime universe also exists and is the same age and in generally the same position in the Mirror universe. Right? So that means that everybody in their bloodline before them was born and mated with the correct person at the correct time in the correct place, so that each of their descendants or their antecedents going up until the mud skipper that came out of the ocean mated with the exact same person. So if that logic follows, then Owosakun or Reese can't kill each other at this point unless they also, whichever one dies, also dies in the Prime universe at the same time, or else there's an incongruity between the two universes, which clearly did not exist before we encounter them at this point. So I thought about it, and I'm like, maybe, I don't know, if the writers thought this through, which is a very big if, maybe Georgiou disappearing from her universe, or people crossing over in general, is what creates the fundamental disconnect between the universes and causes them to start to, I don't know, degrade or fall apart. And maybe that's why she has to go back to her own time period, which makes sense, but also doesn't, because Georgiou in the Prime universe, as far as we know, is still dead, which would suggest that either Georgiou in the mirror or Bizarro Georgiou, who's now our Georgiou in the Prime universe, can't produce any offspring that the original Georgiou wouldn't have produced, or else there's a mismatch. And anybody she kills is also a problem, because they would also need to die in the mirror universe at the same time, but there's nobody there to kill them unless they're killed by somebody else. It's all very strange if you sort of try to follow the logic of how all these people exist in the exact same place and time generally as they do in the other universe. It starts to smell like fate. Like everything is fate.
Yeah. Everything's linked. Michael Burnham must have done the math by now and be like, I'm never having children. Right? Like, didn't have them in the other timeline, can't have them in this one. Book.
Yeah.
I hope you didn't want kids. Because it's not happening, son.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like, you're right. Like, it's one of those things where it's almost like magic. It's like a magic universe where it's like everyone has an evil version of themselves, and the Federation and everything exists as like an evil inverse version of itself.
Yeah.
But everyone, even the aliens, they conquer. Like in the first season, Vok is at the meeting, and so we're like other people, like Sarek, like everyone's still there, right? Yeah. And like nobody who is alive in the Prime universe doesn't seem to really have, a lack of somebody in the mirror universe, unless they say, "Oh yeah, your mirror copy died." But it would be impossible for humanity to have gotten to that point and have all the exact same people, and not have. I feel like they did that in an episode. They went back in time. Is it Enterprise? Did Enterprise have a mirror universe episode?
I don't remember. I remember them going back in time, though.
I definitely remember temporal stuff in Enterprise, but not specifically.
Because I thought they had I thought they redid the opening at Enterprise with a mirror universe opening, and they showed you like it was like they did because how Enterprise has all the historical bits at the beginning. Mm-hmm. I think they redid the historical bits as like Terran Empire bits.
That would be cool. Like, I mean, I would love to see Terran Empire or Terran Universe's version of, Gandhi. Like, what does that look like? What do the hippies look like in the mirror?
I like to think it's all the same until they get out and realize there's aliens, and then it's like the cricket bit from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and they're just like, "Oh, this has to go."
Yeah.
No, I think that's a good point. I also think that the Bizarro universe is fun, but it's so mathematically impossible that it just makes no sense other than it is fun. Everyone's got goatees. Everyone's got lots of eyeshadow. We're all
licking knives.
People are licking. I was just about to say, people are licking their weapons before using them. But it just doesn't make any sense. The fact that even 5 years would go by with like a mirror style, people are in the same place at the same time and happen to have sex with the same people. It just doesn't make sense, let alone for thousands, or like you said, Bert, for millennia evolution. The ape that killed this ape had to have killed the same ape in the Bizarro universe, or else. So it's not good science fiction, but it is fun. And I like that the Bizarro goes all the way through Star Trek because I think that is funny. And I think that it's I think that when Discovery tried to make it for real, I think that it was a good, a good thing to try. I don't think it's particularly successful, but I think it's very interesting.
Yeah. I was going to say, I also love that the writers, they went back to the mirror universe, went back in time for like 5 minutes, and they couldn't help but create a paradox already.
Yep.
So they're not in the Terran universe. They can't be, because we've been to the Terran universe, and Stamets, he existed in the future of the point that Georgiou is in right now, right? So he was alive, but in this episode, she kills him. She knifes him in the throat, and he dies. So this universe that she's in has already been forked off of the path of the mirror universe that we already saw. So this is a new mirror universe. Either that, or when she killed Stamets, or at some point, everybody from the Discovery cast just ceased to exist because she altered their past.
Yeah.
Right? Because they needed Stamets to...
Evil Stamets helps them.
Yeah.
Evil Stamets does help them, yeah.
So it's just, it's fun.
There's not a lot of difference in evil Stamets and real Stamets. So.
Yeah.
I honestly think that's actually an interesting thing. And like we were saying earlier about like, where does like the Bizarro sign like curve start? I think Stamets is right on the edge of that. Like, I think Stamets, if we're being honest, Nazi. Like, he would be the kind of person that would be, it doesn't take a lot to push Stamets into, a Baron Braun missile guy.
He's Wernher Braun, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like, I really think that that's his character. He's really close to being evil. In the mirror universe, he's just like been tipped a little onto that side, and not a lot.
They were the ones who offered him the research to do his rocket science or his mushroom science, and so he took the opportunity. If it was, the Terran Nazis, he would have done it with them. It didn't matter to him.
Yeah, but it came out like he had to also experiment on Kelpians to make them slightly fattier, right? Because the meat's too tough. And he was like, well, I'm really into the shrooms, so yeah, I'll experiment on the Kelpians.
Yeah, he's Braun and Mengele mixed into.
Yes, he really is.
Yeah, I want that would be a fun, that would be a fun like series, as if they had something like that, and then like you have like the Prime Universe invade the Terrans, and then they hunt them down and try them all for war crimes like Nazis. But they never find Stamets. He dies drowning. He has a heart attack in his pool at 73.
Right.
He's in Brazil.
He's in Argentina.
Making strange twins, yeah.
Yeah. All those Nazis went to Argentina.
Oh, man. We are going to get comments for that for sure.
My next point. More of a question for you guys. So at 3616, she's talking to Bizarro Saru and asking, what is Michael planning? Why is she betraying me? And he tells her this.
There is only one rule for Terrans in this world. He who sheds the most blood makes the laws. Everything I have seen confirms that to be true. She cannot love what is weak, not if she is to survive.
Okay, so he's basically saying that Michael Burnham she's sort of fallen out of love with you because she sees you as weak, and weakness in this universe means death, and so she can't love what is weak if she's to keep surviving, and she's a survivor. But that suggests that Georgiou's sort of, soft spot started to appear in the mirror universe before she encountered Prime Universe Michael Burnham. This whole sort of journey of redemption or transformation that she's on, that we see throughout the Discovery plot arc, started before she even encountered anybody on Discovery. And I wonder what the impetus is for that. It's or maybe she's just getting soft in her middle age and was ready to be, to lose the crown as emperor. It's right. An interesting idea as well.
I think that's a good point. I actually was thinking that when I was watching it, or when he was saying that specifically, is like, Michael Burnham's gunning for you because you're weak. I'm like, is she weak? Like, she seems like everything she seems as iron fisted, as unbelievably tactically competent. But you're right. She was going soft. And then, of course, what happens, as we know in the original timeline, makes her definitely weak. But it is strange, and I don't exactly know what Michael Burnham would have been specifically angry about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she like in this episode she says like, "Oh, what does she say? She's angry because she's always in Philippa's shadow or something like that."
Yeah,
and
she
like,
also says that like, "Oh, look how weak you are." Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you could have stabbed her at any point. Like, why go through these convoluted schemes? Like, you're her daughter. I'm sure you could just like, knife her, at dinner one day if you really wanted to take her position. Yeah, it seems
does it have
like
to
a
be
complicated
knifing?
plan.
Like,
I think so.
That's,
and I think you have to lick it first. That's the rule.
That's the thing about the Terran universe.
If you don't,
there's so many. Right, there's so many ways to kill people, and the knife seems to be like you have to have a sword, you have to have a knife, or else it doesn't count. Because, like you said, I mean, like Michael Burnham could have killed Georgiou like hundreds of times when she was just asleep. Again, there's problems with the Bizarro universe. Yeah. I think it's fun, but it absolutely doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you'd think such a sort of bellicose society would have developed cooler ways to kill people than the supposed pacifist Federation and Starfleet. Like they use phasers still, or maybe disruptors, but it's all still pretty much the same thing. Like they're not, I don't know, filling corridors with gas, or every corridor has a button and you push it and everybody inside just gets spaced immediately if they piss you off. Like that's the type of thing that I would expect an evil empire to have new and terrifying ways of killing one another that we haven't seen yet.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, I mean, remember when they're doing the tortures and the torture devices?
Yeah.
It's like we've spent the agonizer. Thank you. It's like we've spent hundreds of years making the best torturer of all torturing. Yeah. And like you said, like, wouldn't you do that for conventional weaponry too? Like to be able to shoot through shields, be able to shoot through knives. Like, oh, he's got a knife. It's okay. I'm going to shoot him through quantum. It's like, you can't block that with a freaking knife.
Yeah.
There's no honor in it. You got to lick the knife. You got to stick the knife. Lick
Nothing
the stick,
beats a licked
son.
knife.
Yeah.
So why are evil people licking the knife? It's to get the poison off?
Yeah.
To get the poison on?
It's just to taste that sweet, sweet metal.
Oh, is it?
That's all it is.
Okay.
It's just connecting with your evil. You just want to lick the knife to show people that you're one with the knife.
Okay.
You've clearly never been in a knife fight, Alex.
I mean, I have actually been in a knife fight, but I don't think anyone licked the knife beforehand. I think people just brandished a knife and then they were scared.
Oh, you guys were doing it wrong. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you wanted to win, you lick the knife.
You're lucky the knife fight regulator was not around.
Clearly, both people walked away. You guys weren't doing it right.
Non-regulation knife fighting. It's like, whoa. Have you guys licked those knives yet? Yes? All right, carry on. But
lick your knives, kids.
Those are my points. Can you imagine that? Like, that's what I imagine cops in the Terran universe to be like. Like, they see two kids knife fighting in an alley and they're like, freeze! Did you lick that knife, kid? Yeah, we licked him. All right, carry on.
Yeah,
go ahead.
And of course, they lick their.
I better only see one of you walk out of that alley.
Yeah. Exactly. If you kids better do this right. And
if
then
one
they
doesn't kill the other, you're both going to jail.
It puts his 1964 revolver in front of his mouth and just takes a nice long lick.
You don't see a lot of people licking guns in movies. You see a lot of. It's always like they're always got the knife and they're like,
but why?
You like that? But no one ever licks a gun. They never bang.
Missed opportunity.
It's because gunmetal tastes funny. No one wants
it's not
to
as
lick
good
a
as knife
gun.
metal.
Yeah, it's just stainless steel on the knife, probably. Mm-hmm. Tastes like a fork.
It's like licking a fork. All right, Jesse, you want to go to your episode chats?
Sure. I don't have a lot. Number one, here's a nitpick. I didn't put this in my thing, but they show at the very beginning. I'm gonna keep calling him Cronenberg. Is it Cronenberg or Lynch? It's Cronenberg, right?
It's
David Cronenberg. Yeah. So right here. So this alien here in the season, he describes him as a Betelgeusian. right?
Does he?
Betelgeuse is a star, idiot.
Yeah.
It's not a planet. It's a star. It's the 10th largest star in the night sky, and you're a moron for saying this guy comes from a star. Dude, idiot. Stupid writers.
Maybe, I guess what are we, Solent? Solent?
Sure.
Solarans?
Yeah. No one talks about people like that in this universe. It drives me nuts. However, the makeup is great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is.
He's rocking that deep V uniform too.
I want those
at
guys.
that.
I want to see this species.
That's what I'm
Yeah, I know.
saying. Like, this is what Star Trek does to us, right? It's like, oh, remember you can have aliens? It's like, here, you see one for 13 seconds.
And
That's all you
stasis.
get. Yeah.
Yeah.
He will never speak.
It's a hologram. You're never
The
going to
rest
see
of the
it again.
episode,
Look at it.
everyone will be Terran. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Actually, there's some Kelpians.
Yeah, there are some Kelpians. You feel really bad for the Kelpians in this whole thing. Like and I like that they put them in there. It's fun anyway. Okay. Oh, and also that's the other thing I forgot to put it in my notes, but it actually mentions that the Betelgeusian is from, I think he says, is from a parallel universe caused by the temporal incursion of a Romulan mining ship.
Yep.
First prime universe acknowledgement of the Kelvin universe.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's still worse than the Mirror universe. It's truly the darkest of all timelines.
Oh, you think they're gonna go there? Oh God.
Oh God, no. No.
Go where, to the Kelvin? That's where they go next. That's next season.
It's not.
Yeah.
Don't give them ideas. They watch this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so I'm not going to go through. There were a lot of Easter eggs. We don't have. I don't want to go through all the Easter eggs. This episode actually had an incredibly large amount of Easter eggs compared to the rest of the garbage these writers pump out. But I want to go directly to how much I hate Tilly. But let's go to 27-24 and then 42-35. I just have notes here that Tilly will betray Michael in any universe. Apparently, that's one thing that Killy and Tilly share. It's a common trait.
And, well, there's more, but...
You wish to inform me that Michael has betrayed me.
Boom. There's one there's one turnover. Let's go to 42-35. So let's watch her just do it again. It's just we won't skip back to the other episode where she betrays her in the Prime universe to Saru. She looks so cool in that uniform.
She really does.
She even walks differently, Yeah, there. I'm here to betray you. Look at me. That's what she looked like inside when she threw her under the bus in front of Saru. That was her inside face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me no choice but to be first officer.
She didn't leave you any choice.
I wonder if that's what the writers are trying to signal. Like, again, Tilly is like the evil mastermind behind all of their, like, this is all her gunning to get the captaincy.
Right.
Like,
what if
she betrays her in
we think
both
is
universes.
Tilly is actually Killy? What if it is? What if it's like a Lorca situation? Right?
How cool would that be if Tilly was Killy the whole time and she was just putting
that would
on
be
an
great.
act?
Yeah, and the real Tilly is dead in a closet somewhere.
I mean, I think that's not possible because, like you said, of that terrible scene where Georgiou puts her soup on her. Because real Killy, I don't think could have. I think that was what Georgiou was testing to see if it was Killy.
Taking that.
I want Killy to replace Tilly. I love the Killy. Killy's great. Killy should be second officer. I mean, I'm fine with that. I mean, and Killy clearly is better at being an officer than Tilly because she's already the captain of her own ship.
Right. And I think that this is a very good point and comes back to what we were talking about earlier, especially Burr was talking about earlier. Like, if both of these Tillys are remotely equally competent, then we're wrong to complain that Tilly shouldn't be first officer and that she should absolutely be first officer. And she just maybe wasn't given the right circumstances and I think that is, again, the Bizarro universe is strange to look at, but Killy is cool and a captain, and therefore Tilly should probably be a captain as well.
She's a wartime leader. They need conflicts to
maybe.
bring out the real bloodlust in Tilly and turn her into
Anyway,
Tilly.
just so
More
that
notes.
actress doesn't think that I don't appreciate her work. Yeah, I like.
But I
Tilly.
mean-
I like the actress. I don't know her name. I like the actress that plays the Tilly Killy combo. But
So in the first scene in the first scene when she's walking down the hall with Georgiou, the sort of mannerisms, like the facial expressions and body language that she uses when she's like pretends like she's, questioning whether she should tell this to the emperor or not. It looked eerily similar to when she was discussing with Saru in that episode.
Yeah.
Like
No, it did.
I wonder if the actress is just really good and this is just really in Tilly's nature to betray and claw her way to the top by any means necessary.
yeah,
Oh, I
I think
love that.
that's what it is. Yeah, she'll do anything. It's Tilly's evil in all universes. There's only one type. There's only one type of Tilly, right?
Yeah.
The only thing that changes are the means. That's it. Yeah, I think I don't have again. I think this was a good episode. It was the best episode this season. I was actually interested the whole. I was sad when it was over. I was like, oh, it's a two-parter or what? I don't get to see the conclusion of this story. I didn't realize it was a two-parter at first. So I was actually like, oh no, this was interesting. Oh yeah. You don't have to put it on, but at 5:50, there's this point where Saru actually tried to get Philippa dead. He was just they were like, yeah, we can save her, and he was like, we don't have time. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill her. This is my time.
Finally, get rid of this dead weight. Been questioning my authority for years now.
Yeah, no, it was an interesting scene. I mean, it was definitely. I don't think what Saru would actually do, but whatever. It was a scene.
Yeah.
Honestly, Saru can't catch a break.
No,
It is no matter what he does, this admiral just has it out for Saru. He's like, Saru, allows Michael Burnham to do her thing. The admiral gets mad. Saru doesn't allow Michael Burnham to do her thing. The admiral gets mad. And then Michael Burnham goes rogue. The admiral gets mad and says Michael Burnham should have been allowed to do whatever she wanted. Now, Michael Burnham wants to, go AWOL again and take Georgiou to some random planet when they just found out the coordinates of the burn. Admiral's like, you should let her do it. Come on, man.
Yeah. No, I know. He's Saru doesn't know how to deal with that situation. The admiral's just breathing hot and cold on him.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I want him to get mad, and it could be a constant thing where he's like, Saru, in my office now.
Yeah, exactly.
What me? That's it. That's all I have. That's
right.
everything. Oh, they mention with the Kelpian ship, they mentioned a prefix code. I don't think we've heard prefix code since Wrath of Khan. Maybe in a Voyager episode, but who's watching?
Oh, just me. Just me.
Yeah.
Alex, episode chat.
All right, so like Jesse already said, there was a lot of cool Easter eggs and a lot of cool references, but I think the coolest one is the discussion about the Temporal Wars, the Temporal Cold War, and the Temporal Accords. I guess the thing that I want to talk about is if you're drafting up the Temporal Accords, what do you think are some of the core rules about the Temporal Accords? Because they seem to both imply not just time travel, but also that the dimensional travel is maybe even worse than time travel. So, say, Bert, what do you think of the kinds of things that are banned from the Temporal Accords?
I mean, I think time travel has to be number one. And for any purpose, by any means. And the only time travel should be travel forward through time at the normal rate that everybody travels through time.
Right.
Because if the parallel universes theory applies, and that's what ends up being correct, and so the temporal Cold Wars, we're creating infinite new universes on top of infinite universes every time we go back and change something because we don't like the way it turned out, then and that's sort of destabilizing the continuum of time or whatever it happens to be, then you can't have exceptions for stuff like, oh, these people just drove their ship through a hole in space by accident and showed up in our time. Can we send them back? They really missed their families. No, they're stuck here now. Too bad. Or maybe not even they're stuck here now. Maybe we have to obliterate them.
That's
just
actually,
so that they don't contaminate.
Right. That's actually my entire thought was exactly that. Like, once Discovery shows up and he's like the admiral who already hates Saru, but like I think that the correct thing is to obliterate the ship, like 100%, like to avoid contamination of the timelines. And then when they find out there's Terrans on, to avoid even more contamination. And they do sort of hint at like that's why they're giving them such a cold shoulder, is because. But if the temporal accords are ironclad, as they've said a couple of times now, it doesn't seem like they're very ironclad. It seems like they're giving Discovery quite a lot of leeway.
Yeah. Also, like, if the multiple universes theory is correct, and so every time the Mama Burnham went back in time to fix the past, she created a new future, and on all the new futures that are separate, even though they all resulted in all sentient life being gone. Does that mean that there are sort of untold futures where sentient life has been wiped out by control, and there's infinite resources there for the taking?
Yeah. I was actually thinking something exactly along those lines, which is that, like, so if that's the case, then why don't we go to the universes that are already broken and just take all the dilithium? Like, I mean,
nobody's using it.
I can't. Yeah. The temporal accords, like you said, they've got to be, no travel under any circumstances. But I mean, there's universes that are empty that have infinite resources. Like, why? I just think that it's an interesting thing to think about. But that also segues into the next thing I wanted to talk about. It's around 150, Bird, if you want to cue it up. I just want to talk about the sort of cold open of the episode.
Designed to function in the time in which they're created.
But everyone on Discovery traveled through time.
Yes, but only one of you is also from a parallel universe. You're here, traveled forward from 2379 and across from an alternate universe created by the temporal incursion of a Romulan mining ship.
Right. So I think I wanted to talk about, as segue from the interesting thing about temporal things to the absolute horror show that is this cold open, where they start by explaining the premise of the science fiction we're going to be work with, and then immediately points out, but everyone traveled through time. And I was just sitting there being like, did they like focus test this with a bunch of people that are like, wait a second, the whole premise doesn't make any sense because of the entire premise of this television show.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, we got to rewrite it.
Like, but they came from a parallel universe too. That's what made the problem. Like, I'm okay, I guess.
It was an utter show of writing. It was just so horrible. Yeah. And using the connotation of designed, like, oh, our molecules are only designed to work in the time they're created. What does that even mean?
Designed by whom?
Designed by who? I feel like you're burying the lead here.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's just it contradicts so much Trek to this point, where it's like there's no problem with time travel, right? Like, and they're like, oh yeah, you're just why would it matter if matter sat now or 1,000 years from now? It literally wouldn't. Like, we know now it wouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter at all, right? Like, but it's like some magical thing. They've been separated from the time they belong in, and now they will turn rabid and murder one another. All we can do is cull them as a form of kindness before they turn into lichens. I just don't like. I think it's just a weird thing. That's a good thing. I hate that Cronenberg wears those stupid friggin' glasses every time.
I want them to. They have to have some function that we're not.
They just know that he looks like a generic white man without them, and they're like we want people. We spent money on Cronenberg. We know that this is Cronenberg, so
you got to get Cronenberg.
Yeah, put the glasses on, Cronenberg. No one recognizes you without them. They're gonna think you're David Lynch.
Also, what is up with his tie? Did you notice his tie? It looks like the knot is covered in some sort of plastic.
Yeah, it's very strange. I'm just going to assume it. Yeah, I'm just going to assume that it's fashion.
I think it's also functional. I think you pull that tie off and his whole entire body comes off.
It comes apart.
He's
just a tiny little alien in the middle of the suit.
He's like
I
a
love
little
it if
Men in Black alien.
his head detaches and he just kind of has like a floating spinal cord. And he's
I love
like
it.
Pulling levers in there.
Right? Yeah.
No, the best of all of the scenarios is that it's 3 young humans standing on top of each other in a trench coat.
That's where the Ferengi are. It's just 3 Ferengis on each other's
It's 3
shoulders.
small Ferengi.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
Lord.
you know what? This is the fun thing about this episode. There's some bad writing and a lot of it doesn't make sense. But because the writers took the time to write a story that was interesting, you're like, okay, that's stupid. This is stupid. But you watch it and you enjoy it, right? It's an enjoyable episode. Yeah.
Right. And I think my comment on that is if we had not this entire 10-minute cold open explaining why we have to go to this planet, we could have cut that entire thing and it still would have been totally 100% fine. Like it added absolutely nothing. All it did was confuse me about the rules of the universe and about the rules of time travel and about the rules of Star Trek, because you spend like a quarter of the episode explaining this premise and then you arguing against yourself. Like they spend half the discussion talking about why that thing they just said doesn't make any sense.
Well, the thing that is so confusing to me, and I think must have confused other people, is that they're making this sort of false distinction between time travel and parallel universes, as though there are set finite parallel universes that only exist, like they're sort of self-contained, and if you take stuff from one to another, you can contaminate, right? But then when they bring up the Kelvin, or when they make reference to Romulan mining ship making an incursion from one universe to another and creating a fork, then that means that there are not set finite separate universes that run in parallel to one another, that you can create forks by moving from one to the other, which would suggest that if you move forward or backward in time and change the way that things were quote unquote supposed to be, then you're also creating a fork. Right. And if that's the case, then it really shouldn't matter from a structural integrity of the universe perspective, whether you're bringing matter from one universe into another or you're creating a fork here or there. Like if there's a closed system problem where, the prime universe has X or sort of n number or units of matter that are all have their sort of entanglement set, and if you were to remove one from the universe, it destabilizes the entire closed system, then that should happen anytime anything goes from one universe to another, and anytime somebody travels forward or backward in time. And since that hasn't, and we've seen so much time travel and interdimensional time travel, then it suggests that if there is any sort of closed system, then it encompasses every permutation of the universe, and then it shouldn't really matter if you move stuff from one to the other. So it's a weird conceit that really didn't need to be included. They could have just, like you said, Alex, cut this whole thing out. The universe and the episode is just as good.
The other thing I hate is that they make a point of Georgiou makes a point. I know it has nothing to do with what you just said, but it's about the Prime Universe. Georgiou makes a point of saying that, when she's talking about the other universes, that, from their perspective, they're prime. And like she questions the fact that the prime is the prime. And to me, this is another one of those examples where I think the writers are trying to be like, there's nothing wrong with the Kelvin universe. There's nothing wrong with this stuff. And the fact that you guys refer to like the main one as prime. And I feel like they did this. They've done this a number of times, like throughout this season and maybe the last season too. Like where they keep sending us like sort of subtle messages that like, the fandom is wrong when they criticize New Trek. And, Disney and Lucasfilm are very careful to like try to like cultivate a good relationship with their fandom, right? Sometimes with disastrous and slightly racist results.
God.
Like to the point of pandering, but at least I'll say this, like they're trying to do right by their fans, and they get it wrong, but at least they're not like, but I find like the people who are running Trek are not trying to be nice to the fans. That fans are like, you know what, the old stuff that you guys made that was still really progressive and really fun was better than what you're making now. And they're just like, you're idiots. We think our fans are idiots. Look at this. And we're going to tell you every couple episodes, we're going to throw the TNG phaser in the garbage. We're going to do this. We're going to say that, who cares? Kelvin universe is fine. You know, like just like that. And it's like, nobody thinks, like, who are you? Like, who are the people you're speaking to? All you're doing is like pissing in our faces.
It's just us here.
Yeah. And they're like, our fans
There's not
are
a lot
idiots.
of people that are scanning through the channels and are like, oh, Star Trek, I should watch this. There isn't people accidentally tuning into Star Trek.
And it seems to be like, and maybe I'm reading too much into some of these things, but it seems to be like they pick like subtle things that, yeah, only actual fans might like pick up on. And it's just like, did you want me to hate the show more? Like, I don't, like, what was the point here? Like, telling me that my taste is garbage because I like 90s era Trek better than what the poorly written garbage you make?
Because I like the series of shows that you are currently
based
within.
Yeah. And I'm watching your show. That's the thing. I'm watching it week by week, and you're like, you're an idiot. You're an idiot for liking those other shows.
Yeah. I mean, that's
We killed
absolutely...
Captain Picard. We have the power to do that. Yeah, sure, he's an android now, but we killed him first. We'll kill more people. We'll kill all your favorites.
You think you
Except
like Geordi?
Wesley. Except Wesley. Wesley lives forever.
Did you
Wesley
know
and
that
Tilly
Geordi
are
was
getting married.
Geordi was actually secretly racist? We're gonna go back and make that canon.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah.
You like LeVar Burton? Not anymore.
Not anymore.
As long as he's still bad with the ladies, I mean, it's still Geordi.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I think like it's sort of there's so much commentary that they like Star Trek lends itself to making so many comments about the way that things are and the way that things should or could be. The fact that they seem to be spending energy on these sort of, you know, crypto disses to the Star Trek community is kind of hilarious. Like, you could spend all of this effort that you're, you know, using up to you know, backhand the Trek fandom to just, you know, exploring cool new ideas or, you know, challenging people's views of the way the world works, but instead this is what you focus on.
They could even focus on writing better dialogue, and I think
That would be
even
very
a better
helpful.
use of their time.
All right.
Yeah.
The next thing I wanted to talk about is just a still. It's around 3:30. It's Georgiou in the mess hall.
Oh.
Is that completely wrong? Oh no, it's
There we go.
all right. Oh yeah, yeah. It's just her. All right. So here is my question for you, Jesse. What the hell is happening in this scene? So like, her hand, she can't pick up objects anymore. But Jesse, what is actually happening? Are parts of her hand going back in time? Like, what is actually physically happening in this scene?
No one knows. No, it doesn't need to know. All you need to know is that she's sick somehow, but that sickness is playing with the way she like experiences matter. Like, it makes no sense. However, the scene leads to a great moment, and that's her tossing the tray into Tilly's face.
Right. So she can't touch objects until the next sequence where she throws a tray at Tilly, which I have to admit, I don't know if it was like my bad high school experience, but that was, I mean, it just felt like it was over the top, even for Georgiou. Like, I really felt like throwing a soup at somebody that just came over to help you. It really actually hurt me. Like, it was,
Well,
it was
for like the evil emperor of an evil empire, it seems a little bit juvenile. Like, I think before throwing a tray, she just would have stabbed her in the hand or something.
yeah,
Please, Vladimir Putin's throwing trays at people.
you think?
just trays of pea soup. Just
What have you brought to me? Look at this. Wrong. This is the wrong borscht. I am the great Putin. My hand will never pass through vodka glass.
Yeah. I as for the hand through the glass thing, like like I guess it's showing that she's like I don't know, she's out of place.
That
or
still is my
whatever.
moment of zen. Look at that. She looks so uncomfortable.
Oh, that's how you know she's not Killy in disguise. Because you're right, Killy would have murdered Georgiou because of that.
Yeah,
She would've just lost it.
instinctively, just like stabbed her in the head, right?
Yeah.
And then everyone would be like, Tilly, what's wrong? I'm not Tilly. Yeah.
You idiots. You're all so weak.
Yeah. And then
Where's
she
my
just like
knife?
puts her hands up and rubs like eyeshadow on.
Eyeshadow, exactly.
She
She's
grabs
got it
the
in her
knife and
hands.
just licks it. She just lick a knife. She's one of them.
But yes, like you were saying, Bert, like the out of phase thing. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I think like they're showing that she's, in the wrong place, or she's, out of her time, and so she needs to get back to her own universe, or else, her temporal or dimensional withdrawal. I think I titled one of the episodes is Georgiou suffering from dimensional withdrawal, and I think that's exactly what it ended up being.
Right.
So
although
it's maybe you win a prediction, Bert.
Maybe I'm
that
secretly
counts.
writing this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like an ad lib one where Bert makes predictions, and then the week after, that's just the episode. I would say it's possible, but I mean, there's a lot of actors in this episode. Yeah, it's maybe possible.
I'm secretly the head writer for Star Trek Discovery. Yeah.
All right.
And I take these pot shots at the fandom because nobody
That would make
acknowledges
that would make
Voyager
sense
is
because I
the
know you're really
greatest
busy
Star
at
Trek of all
work. So
time.
if this is all the time you have, I mean, it makes sense that the show sucks as much because you're just trying to fit it in between doing your real job.
Exactly.
Nope, that's very fair.
You didn't want to turn them down. It's a great opportunity, but you also didn't have time to work.
Oh man, that leads me to so many questions. Like poor D&D over at Song of Ice and Fire, getting offered Star Wars, so they wrap up Song of Ice and Fire in like an episode and a half, so they can go work on Star Wars. But it's the same kind of thing. Like it's baffling that these episodes feel like they are so shoddily written and so quickly executed. The entire cold open, the entire 11 minutes before they sort of start the episode, it feels like completely, utterly wasted time. Yeah, and it's honestly insulting to the people that watch it that have to choose between this and anything on HBO. Anything else? Like it's 11 minutes. I could have watched half a good episode of anything on HBO.
But here's a question for you guys. What makes the second, like the last 3/4 of this episode better than the first quarter of this episode? And what's the sort of defining line between the two?
Okay, I think it's because there actually feels like tension and stakes in the Terran universe, and also it's cool. Like Jesse said, I think 11 times, they look cool. Everyone looks awesome. It feels like a cool alternative future universe where we can do some science fiction. So, hey, wait, isn't that the premise of Star Trek Discovery?
Do you remember? Yeah, go ahead, Jesse.
No, I was just gonna say, and you also kind of feel like I don't know, like why did the Guardian send her back through that door to experience that moment? I mean, I'm assuming it has something to do with Michael Burnham and discovering herself, but you also don't know like what's gonna happen after she like figures out that situation. Is she gonna stay there? Is she gonna get sucked back into the future? Right? Like you really are in a position where you're just like, ooh, this is interesting. I wonder what's gonna happen. Whereas most of their episodes, you're like, please don't let it be this. Please don't it's this. Right? And you know what's happening and you don't care and you don't want it to be that way. This is interesting.
Yeah. So like I think it's just, we talked about the dangers of sort of putting yourself in sort of the free verse writing, where people think that because everything is open and there are no rules, that it will be easier to write something interesting, but it makes it more difficult. Like in the Terran universe, there are rules. We know what the universe is supposed to be. We know what the people are like. We know what to expect. Then the sort of problem that needs to be solved and the crisis that occurs because there's a barrier blocking the protagonist from the thing that needs to be solved happens throughout the plot, right? That's how you create the tension. That's how you create the quest that they need to go on to fix whatever is wrong. Sheeny wants to love her daughter, but her daughter wants to kill her, so she needs to figure out how to, reach out to her daughter without killing her daughter, and do that simultaneously with being the emperor and not having everybody else turn on her and kill her as well. That's interesting. Whereas in the future, they're in the future. We don't know why they're in the future. They have no quest in the future. There's really no purpose. Like all the stuff they're doing, they could just as easily have not done. It's no skin off their back. They can still travel. The burn doesn't get solved. Why does this Discovery doesn't care? It's not their responsibility. It's not even their time. They already saved all these people. Their quest is done. It's like following Frodo across the ocean and seeing what he does on the other side. No, like his quest finished. It's done. Wrap it up. You can't follow him over there because there's nothing left for him to do. If you want to have a new story, then you need to make a new story and tell us why we should pay attention to and why it's interesting. You can't just say now they're in the future and it's all the people who you love. Like, that's great. That's like a reunion show, or that's not a season of a show.
Yeah,
right. I think the answer to your question about what Frodo sees on the other side of the Grey Isles, Grey area, I think it's probably some kind of erotically charged Shelob spider thing. I think that's his reward. I think that he was so impacted by the Shelob experience that he has strange spider sex for the rest of his existence.
Yeah, yes. It woke something up in him.
It did. This better not awaken
after the terror abated. He was kind of like, you know what? Something about those legs.
There's so many legs.
So many of them.
I don't know why. Is that Tahitian treat on your?
Yeah, it is. It has a very special purpose.
To find.
It is hard to find. Yeah. It has a very special purpose. There's a silly inside joke with my Pokemon friends. One of the Pokemon we started saying look like Tahitian treat because of this shiny version. And so we all now in our crew have a Tahiti treat in our houses to represent a silly inside joke about the color of its shiny Genesect for those playing at home. Okay, so the other things I wanted to talk about are all really just 5-second me yelling at the television. The death's alarm clock. I mean, talk about the worst possible writing. Is this NCIS? Like, how old is the audience? Are we like 75? We can't understand when Georgiou is dying, so we have to put a literal visual aid to show how. I mean, it was just frustrating. And I know that the Guardian scene was cool, but I mean, I didn't love this is this. This is exactly where we are is exactly where we are. This is I don't like that kind of circular sort of dialogue. It came across.
We watched The Matrix. Like,
I mean,
we get it.
I don't.
It's for people who don't have an answer. It's like they're like, oh, they want him to sound smart. So it's like, where are we? We are where we are.
Exactly. It sounds very facetious. It just does not sound smart. It sounds kind of dumb actually. And so I think that it took away from the scene, honestly. But again, I actually really liked this episode, even though I just spent 20 minutes like railing against it. I did like this episode.
Me too. I really enjoyed it. As soon as they left the future, the episode got infinitely more interesting.
Yeah, really did. All you got to do is leave the future. It covers a multitude of sins when you leave that stupid future.
Go to this funny, bizarro world where every character is more believable somehow. Like, I don't understand how their motivations are easier to understand.
Yeah. How is it that the knife licking people are more relatable than the future Federation? I get where he's coming from, but this Thai guy with the glasses, I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, I really enjoyed the episode, to be completely honest. I hope they never go back to the future.
I mean, me too.
I hope that Discovery is actually the Georgiou spinoff. Surprise!
That's it. We never see Discovery again. That just follows Georgiou. We never see those characters again. They just don't even address it.
Yeah, only in their Terran format. That's the only way that they continue. Apologies to Omar Madha. Good job, Omar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good job, Omar, for making the only good episode of this season.